Hi, everybody, and a very warm welcome to a new episode of The Joy of Logistics with me, Christoph. I'm your host, and I'm glad that you joined us today. Today, we have a very interesting topic, but before I'm going to jump into that, of course, I want to take the time to introduce myself. My name is Christoph Scheite. I'm located in the southern part of Germany, and I'm working now for almost a decade in global logistics, currently as a key account manager, and I'm focused on both air freight and ocean freight transportation. And today, as you've already guessed by the title, it's all about the AMH. And now you might want to wonder, hey, what does that stand for? Is that some sort of a car, or I've maybe heard about AMG, which belongs to Mercedes, but no. In fact, the AMH stands for American Maritime Highway, and more about that later throughout the show. And we have an awesome guest here today that I'll be bringing in just in a few minutes. And prior to that, I want to just show you something which just fits perfectly as a good intro today. Here we go. It's I'm sure you've probably read or heard about that. Just gonna pull this one down here a bit. Yeah, it is the potential strike threat on freight railroads. Talking about the U.S. today, and I'm sure you've or a lot of you already heard about. And yeah, that's gonna shake up, or it has the potential to tremendously shake up the U.S. economy, um, which, given the timing, is a little bit unfortunate. I mean, we basically just solved the huge vessel traffic jam just right out of Los Angeles. If you remember, last year at the peak, we had, I believe, somewhat like 120 or 130 vessels queuing up from Los Angeles right down to Japan, actually. And luckily, this thing is more or less solving, obviously, because the volume has been shifted towards other ports in the U.S., especially over to the East Coast, also a little bit to the Gulf. However, now, given the fact that the railroads are intending to strike, yeah, that's just mind blowing. I mean, think of it. You got so many important industrial ports in the U.S. Which are not necessarily connected directly to the ocean. Just thinking about Chicago, just thinking about Kansas City, etc., which heavily depend on rail. Now, yeah, if they really went on to a strike starting Friday, and today I've even read about Norfolk Southern, which is also a big U.S. Railroad company. They will even start go on a strike by tomorrow. And I've read numbers as crazy as an impact of like $2 billion. And you really got to think about it. Just because some trains doesn't move, it might hurt the economy to the number of $2 billion with a $1 billion, which is really insane. However, talking about bringing it back to the AMH, I thought that's a good idea here because indeed this might be something that can mitigate those risks. And so it's very important to talk about because it got somewhat forgotten, it seems almost. And it's important to rekindle this fire and bring it back into the awareness of a lot of the logistics folks out there. Hence, also my idea to do a little special mini series here on the Joy of Logistics, where it will dedicated or which will be dedicated to various aspects of the AMH, the American maritime highways, and of course, I thought, you know what, I can't do this on my own. I'm gonna bring in an expert, and I'm in fact very happy to have him on here. I've been in contact with him now for quite some time, and I'm very happy that we got connected. A lot of good connection, a lot of good conversations already. And yeah, prior to bringing him on, I have a nice how can I say, a nice motto that he shared with me today: a buckle up, buttercup. It's gonna get bumpy. And with those words, I'm happy to welcome our dear guest, my dear contact, live from the Mobile Kenworth Studios today from Ohio. It's Pat Roche. Pat, how are you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Yourself, Christoph?
Doing fantastic. Doing
Awesome.
fantastic.
Glad
Thank you
to
so
be
much for
here and
joining us.
a big intro there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to get bumpy. I like that. Myself, 30 plus years in logistics. Ever since Uncle Sam let me out of the Navy, I've been on one side of the steering wheel or the desk, moving freight all around the world. Like you said, currently, I'm in Ohio. I'm on a load that heads to Michigan. So keeps us busy. But
Oh, absolutely.
American
Absolutely.
Marine Highways, it's been a
Yeah.
passion of mine for a while. And you were right. It's been forgotten um, by the containerized group. Uh, bulk cargo, bulk cargo's got it made. They're moving several 100 million tons a year on the AMH.
Wow.
So it's working. We don't have to invent it.
Mhm.
We just have to adapt it.
Wow. I mean, that's some serious numbers here, Pat.
It is.
Maybe maybe you would like to let the audience know how you got caught up with the AMH, because now people might think, hey, this guy is a trucker. I mean, how is he related to the AMH?
Yeah. I got involved in the AMH a little over 10 years ago when I was on the other side of a desk working for a national recycling company. I was
Mhm.
in charge of moving all their freight around New England, or from New England around the world,
Wow.
as well as bringing freight in from um, Halifax. Uh,
Mhm.
so when I started, and it took some effort because corporate doesn't like to change. We all know that. So when I finally got them to understand what I was doing, we saved a lot of money and we moved a lot more cargo. Um, the the international stuff that I did, I changed the ability to load more cargo in the same containers legally, um, bringing it to the closest port to where I was, and that allowed me to save $2 million a year in landed costs, increase shipping by over 10%, and
Wow.
pay all of my truckers each $100,000 or more annually.
Wow.
The inbound freight, which is really where the AMH comes in,
Mhm.
was coming out of Halifax down to Boston.
Wow.
And there was a company that started a short sea shipping company that approached me, and with a little bit of conversation, we got going. And they only lasted about 9 months because of political whatevers. But in that 9 months, I saved $900,000 in cargo.
Wow.
And we made the customer in Halifax very happy because we were bringing all their stuff down to where they wanted to sell it. So that made a big deal,
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
really hooked me. And once I got into that, I started looking at where the AMH connects and how many other things could be serviced, and it just was one of those light bulb moments, and here I am.
Wow. I mean, that's fantastic. And I just want to pick up this comment that you just made real quick for the audience. Just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Saving roughly $900,000 in 9 months. That's $100,000 a month. Isn't that crazy? With just a simple switch and a simple concept.
We took it from the road, from Halifax to Boston, off the road. We put it on the water,
Wow, that's
and
fantastic.
that was it. Oh, wait a
That's
minute, let me silence that.
yeah, sure, no problem.
There we go. I thought I
Um,
put that on Do Not Disturb. Apparently, I didn't.
no problem. It's a live show, so that's all okay. Everything is
Yeah.
natural that's happening in here, so that's fantastic. Just want to give a quick shout out to Jörg. Jörg, thank you so much for joining us today. Pleasure having you on here. I see Jose is on here. Jose, thank you for joining us. Great having you with us today as well. It's gonna get amazing, and Pat just basically scratched the surface, and just by those numbers that he just provided, you can see what tremendous potential is hidden in the AMH, right?
Yeah, it's available. It's not going to be super easy. Nothing ever is that's worthwhile, anyways.
Right.
But it's there. It's absolutely there.
Right. And I also wanna show the audience that's something that you provided me beforehand, Pat. Oh, Kara is also here. Kara, a pleasure seeing you today. We have been interacting about this throughout the last week. Thank you for being here. Highly appreciate it, and I'm confident that there is a lot of information, a lot of content that you're going to take away this in this episode. And what I just wanted to point out real quick, that's something that Pat sent me prior to the call, which I thought is very important to mention and to show you guys. Because I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the folks would be saying like, oh yeah, AMH, okay, sounds interesting, but all the stuff that you got to rebuild and, new things, you got to invest, etc., etc. But apparently, and Pat dug this one out here. I want to pull this up real quick because this one is going to blow your mind, folks. If you want to check this one out here real quick, I hope you can see it.
Where is that? I can read that. Where did I put it? Here it is. Okay, let me read that. And you'll have to excuse the grammar at some point because it's from the 1820s. I'm sorry. This is about the Blackstone Canal, which was hand dug by the Irish who came over and did the Erie Canal. It was dug after that. It connected Worcester, Mass. To Providence, Rhode Island. And this says, it is calculated that the expense of transporting on a canal, exclusive of tolls, amounts to 1 cent a ton per mile, or $1 a ton for 100 miles, while the usual cost of conveyance by land is $1.25 per hundredweight, or $25 a ton for the same distance. A loaded boat can be towed by 1 or 2 horses at the rate of 25 or 30 miles a day. Canals enable farmer, the mechanic, and the merchant to convey commodities to market and receive a return at least 24 times cheaper than by roads. Canals are advantageous to towns and villages and the whole country by increasing population, augmenting individual and aggregate wealth, and extending foreign commerce. Those who have most carefully and deliberately examined the subject would almost consider it heresy to doubt it. So manifest are the advantages and so obvious the importance to a large and fertile section of the country, whose prosperity probably experiences a severer check from the high charges for transportation on ton than from any other single cause. And this is written in 1822 by a man named Mr. Benjamin Wright. It was published in Worcester, Massachusetts. Now, this was about a canal that only lasted about 50 years, but it was profitable from the get-go. And the only thing
Wow.
that changed it was railroad came in and it was faster.
Wow. I
Um,
mean, yeah, go ahead.
that this really goes to show that when you got that map of the AMH, um, you'll see where it really connects in with what I just said.
Sure. And I'll be bringing this map in right away, Pat, because it's important, and I think it's very important also for the audience to get a picture of that. I just want to point out real quick to the audience. Afterwards, I'm going to share all the links that I'm going to display and that we are going to talk about. I'll share them all afterwards over LinkedIn to make sure that in case you have to attend a meeting or you got to fetch someone from somewhere else, you don't have to do the homework by yourself. It will be everything in there. I'm going to provide you all the links so you're able to look them up. And yeah, with that being said, I also want to give a shout out quick to John. John, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on here. We already had Kara, and of course, we have Benita. Benita, thank you for joining us again. Pleasure having you on. I hope you're enjoying your cruises. And with that being said, I just want to pull up real quick the map so everybody gets to see him in here. 1 second. Just gotta see where it. Yeah, I think that's probably the best. Yeah. So I hope you folks can see him. Just try to make it a little bit larger. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Now, notice about where this connects, and notice that St. Louis, Memphis, Chicago, Louisville, Houston, New York, all along the coast, all the way up to Chicago market.
Wow.
We can it in the original we could get to the Dakotas, but it's been adulterated for dams and power stations and so on. But we can get directly from Oklahoma City. We can get directly from um, eastern Nebraska. We can get from Pittsburgh right down to the Gulf Coast by water. I mean, imagine a ship, a load going from Pittsburgh to Australia without ever hitting the road. It's available. It's there.
That's really crazy. I mean, I think this single map or this single picture just displays. Well, no, it tries to convey a slight idea of the potential that lies behind the AMH. Because as you remember, Pat, from the introduction when I was talking about the potential race strike, which obviously affects the whole nation, right? And we got the connections from the big hubs: Chicago, Kansas, St. Louis, Memphis, etc. You name them. And on the worst case, they could come all to an halt, and not a single box will be moved. Now, just think about that. Especially if you're a big BCO, and you have a decent amount of volume that you're going to use, or to move, whether it's on the import side or on the export outbound side, and you just wouldn't have to worry about that much because hey, your barge or your feeder vessel is going to depart no matter what, and
Right.
and that's just it's so mind blowing if you think about it, isn't it?
It is. And it won't replace trucking and it won't replace rail. Realistically, there's someone else I've talked to about this, and he's got a great line. And it's if it belongs on a truck, it goes on a truck. If it belongs on a train, it goes on a train. And if it belongs on the water, it goes on the water. And we're going to need, with the population growth and the commerce growth globally, we're going to need the 29,000 miles of instant navigable waterways that this provides.
Especially because it's already there.
It is. All we need is, yes, it's atrophied because it's rigged up right now mostly for bulk. But all we need to do is start putting mobile cranes on site, and they will grow. They will grow to reach stackers. They will grow to different kinds of cranes. It will happen. It needs to start small, and it needs to start.
Correct. Maybe one canal at a time, right? Or
Right.
one slight connection at a time.
Just the Mississippi for the beginning, and then branch out into the Missouri and Ohio and and the East-West. Tennessee has invested a lot of money in their waterways. Oklahoma's investing a lot. Louisville, I was there recently, and they've got gigantic warehouses built. There was at least 20 of us parked inside a warehouse, and we looked like matchboxes.
Get out of here, really?
So the landside infrastructure is growing, and it can be serviced this way.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that I just want to add, Pat, is on what you just said with regards to the quote: "If it belongs on a truck, it goes on a truck," which is fine. But I do think that hopefully we'll eliminate a lot of inefficient trucking. And by that I simply mean is just because you're maybe saving, I don't know, $50 compared to truck rail or to truck bars, whatever. I still see a lot of players in the market that just leave them.
Where'd you go? You froze. What happened? Are you still there? We froze. We lose one? I can't hear you, Jose.
He's coming back. Christoph
Okay.
is.
Yeah, modern technology, sometimes it's great, right?
Yeah.
To your point, Christoph, you are correct. This will retask trucking to a more regionalized market, which is already beginning. And it will hopefully draw more people back into trucking, because my age group is the demographic that is the biggest amount out here, and most of them are trying to get out of it. Oh, we lost him again. But anyways, yeah, retasking for trucking is going to be a great portion of this. We lose everybody again?
It seems that Germany is not working very well in terms of communication today.
Yeah.
But what are your experience about? I mean, everything that is related to the maritime transportation.
My experience is really that people are afraid to change.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to meetings with corporate entities. I've been to meetings with transportation entities, and some of them get it. You can see where some of them really pay attention. But the one answer is always, well, it went away for a reason. It went away because somebody paid for it to go away. Somebody said, I'll do it for cheaper or whatever. That was great 50 years ago.
Okay.
But we've changed a lot. We've grown a lot. And the networks that we have built that took containers or so off the water and domestically, that they're overwhelmed and they can't keep up.
Yeah, and it is amazing. I mean, having the waterways and still they are not being used in the proper way that it should, right?
Correct. I mean, they're there. All we have to do is put them back to work.
Yeah, and mainly the resistance from the companies is because what?
One is understanding, and two is time and money, which on later episodes, Christoph and I have already spoken of this. On later episodes, we'll tackle those things. I've got some contacts that are already lined up to come on the show. One is an economist who has direct knowledge and has worked with the AMH. One is a software company who does global software stuff for containerization. I have two Jones Act. I say Jones Act. It's really not. That's what it is, but that's what most people know it as.
Right.
I have two Jones Act companies that want to build vessels, but like anything else, money. You're not going to build it unless somebody's going to use it.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat, for sharing. So I hand it over to Christoph, our host, and then I'll take off.
Thank you.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, apparently some technical issues here. My apology.
And there he goes again. There you are. You're coming in. Almost. It's just me now.
The two of us again.
Yeah. We'll get Germany back.
Yeah,
it's a long string between the soup cans here.
that is correct. Yes, handling technical issues on a live show is very difficult, but we are here.
Yes. And you know what? We're like everything in logistics. We work through it and fix it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
That's what we do.
Yeah. So I believe that he's getting ready. I see him that he's coming along hard and strong.
Yeah.
So he's going to be back in just a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So Pat, I mean, when you said that the company doesn't like change and doesn't want to change, what is their main roadblock? Because I mean, it seems to be very obvious, but it's not that easy for some companies to start thinking about it in a different way about that transportation.
I think the main roadblock would be fear.
Okay.
We've had conversation, and I've had an experience with. It was with Ford Motor Company. They were. They had some junior logistics people. I call them junior, but they're mid-level logistics people that we were having great conversation with for several months, but they were afraid to bring it up to their supervisor because he was dead set against using water. When the supervisor changed, they went up to him and they started doing things on water.
Okay.
So I think that's what it is in a lot of places is fear. People are afraid to bring something like that because it's not like saying, well, we're going to go to this port, Port of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to understand that. If we say we're going to go to the Port of Louisville, they're going to say, what do you mean the Port of Louisville? We're going fishing? So it's an education thing that we have to change.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what we're doing. We're trying anyway.
And especially in this particular time, I mean, I'm talking about 3 years ago that we started with the pandemic. I mean, that is probably is prompting a different approach for everything that we do, right?
Agreed. I've seen a lot more conversation about trying to find different ways to solve the puzzle in the last few years than I did before, and I'm happy about it because that means people are starting to think and they're removing their fears.
I see. So
I see circles for Christoph.
Yeah. I mean, it's coming from Germany, right?
Yeah. Well, we got to connect that. We're going to connect that string back up to the soup cans.
So it's still having some challenges.
Maybe it's cloudy over there today.
There you go. Now we have him.
He's back, the legend.
We have the LinkedIn star right here. Okay, so we are going to just wait a little bit more and see if we can reconnect it once again.
I mean, the AMH does more than just Central. It does both coasts as well. The amount of truck traffic and
there we go.
gate traffic that could be relieved from the bigger ports is market.
Tremendously, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's back.
Can you folks hear me?
Perfectly.
Now.
Okay, excellent. I just tried a different approach, and I hope this thing is now working. Jose, thank you so much for jumping in, and yeah, a little bit unexpected, but yeah, that's just how it is, right? That's just how it goes, and yeah, let's make the most out of it. Yeah, Pat, you were also just talking about that it's not solely limited to trucking and to ocean as well. I mean, it can be used with everything else, right? I mean, it can be perfectly modeled and fit into today's world of global shipments, if you want it like that. Would you agree?
Global as well as domestic. I mean, literally, you could load a container in Pittsburgh and take it to Houston and never touch land except for a short few miles on both ends. The nice thing about it is you can load the container to capacity, and you don't have to have all the additional permits to run across all those states between Pennsylvania and Texas. You can load 99,000 pounds gross, so roughly 70,000 pounds net cargo legally. And that is where the money really comes in. It's the containers you don't have to move.
Correct. And I would agree, or I would argue that this would be a hugely beneficial also to a lot of U.S. exporters, right? I mean, just think about all the lumber, all the timber that is going to be moved out of the states currently, obviously on truck rail basis. But think about it: if you have a decent family company, it doesn't have to be a major player though. But let's just say you have a weekly output of even just 15 containers or maybe 20. How easy it would be, or it could be, to put it on a barge, to put it on an inland feeder vessel, so to speak, and to move it wherever it's supposed to need it, right? To be required.
If you've got 15 containers that you're moving normally right now, you could probably move them all in 10 because you load additional capacity. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and there's a fringe benefit that goes with this too. Besides the lack of having to pay the insurance and the cargo and all of that, there's a fringe benefit that goes along with it too. That it's actually the greenest, most environmentally sound. I'll say. I hate to use the word green because everybody plasters it over too many things. It's the most environmentally sound transportation method. Does it produce carbon? Sure. Anything that moves does. But you're moving more with less carbon. So your footprint.
Absolutely. And I think that's a huge statement that you're making here, Pat. And I've just seen prior of my technical issues that Kara was asking how it might actually would work with a regular container, maybe even with a 40-foot or 40-foot high cube container, maybe even with a 45-foot container. I don't know if you and Jose talked about it, but maybe you can go into that once again.
There are companies out there starting to move 53-foot containers. Internationally, domestically, they're on the rail constantly. So domestically, they would be no problem. It would have to just be properly loaded for maximum weight from the origin state and the destination state. So that's all. I call that low-hanging fruit because that's the simple part.
Absolutely, and isn't that exactly what amongst other JB Hunt and a few others are just kicking off, right?
Well, JB Hunt is one of the first, I believe, that them and Schneider, I believe, were among the first to do intermodal. I read somewhere not long ago. I thought JB Hunt chartered a vessel.
Yeah, correct. They did. So, probably you read it on my side.
I might have. So there's a perfect thought right there that they're already thinking maritime. Why not? And I will be. I have a JB Hunt contact in my LinkedIn group. I will be reaching out to see if we can possibly get him in here to chat about it, or at least get him connected with some of the players, so that they can start talking about it. Because that they're already understanding maritime. Why not broaden that understanding.
Absolutely, and I would also say, Pat, and feel free to disagree, but I think that especially given the current time, collaboration is key. I mean, you don't have to work out everything on your own, but you just got to know who you got to talk to, right, in order to
Yeah.
make things move. Would you agree?
100%. A smart person doesn't know everything; they just know where to find it.
Excellent, and in fact, that's also a part that I wanna bring in here. I mean, if we just take a look across the continent, talking about Europe here, I mean, I know, for instance, the Netherlands, they utilize their inland waterways for roughly more than 41% of all cargo. Now think about it, more than 41% of all their cargo. Isn't that crazy?
That's
In a good
amazing.
way.
Imagine that in the U.S., where there's roughly 3 million power units running every day. Imagine
Man,
moving
I mean,
41%
that's
of that to its closest port of either origin or destination, and only trucking it 100 miles.
Man, that's really a significant number. I mean, that's something I can't even picture
Mm,
the sheer potential of it. I mean, it's mind blowing. I mean,
it
that's
is.
just a huge amount,
And
and go ahead.
didn't over in Europe they had something, I believe it was a Marco Polo Act, where they talked about um, tax benefits or some sort of credits to
Mhm.
companies that use the water.
That's a perfect point. And I wanna bring it on here real quick. Prior to that, shout out to Kara. She has an awesome question here. Let me just pull this up on the screen real quick. How would you work this with a steamship line? And are we speaking of years before this would begin?
Well, I actually know where there's a
What's
vessel.
your thought on that?
I actually know where there's a vessel right now sitting in Florida that would take 6 months of rehab to start. It's not the biggest, but it's available. And the owner of the vessel is willing to be part of the picture. As far
Okay.
as talking to the steamship lines, they don't really need to know. All this is being being a waterborne drayman up and down the rivers of the coasts. So they still move it to the coast, and then it would be up to the logistics company or the cargo owner to do the inland drayage, which would either be on truck, rail, or water.
Kara, just a quick point here from my side. I mean, you always have carriers haulage and merchants haulage, meaning carriers haulage, you let the steamship line take place of the delivery or pickup, depending if it's inbound or outbound. And merchant haulage is, as Pat already alluded to, you do it yourself, or you have your forwarder, broker, whatever taken care of. Now, and this could be mapped out the following, and let's just assume you import a 40-foot container to whatever, let's say to Mobile, Alabama, or maybe even up to New York, and all you got to do basically is to extend the free time, detention, and demurrage. Talk to your provider, in this case, Pat's contact, who might be or who will be running this vessel, which is currently on rehab in Florida. You put it on there. You move it to the final destination, and then you can even return this container right there or at the closest container depot. Right? That's not a problem at all. I mean, these are the things you can work out, and they are perfectly working. I mean, these are basically the modus operandi for a lot of shipments also into Europe. So I'm confident that this will work out in the US as well. Now, I just want to bring on what Pat just mentioned, the Marco Polo Act, because I did find it also in English.
Oh, good.
Wait, let me just showing you some numbers on that. Don't be. Let me. Where's this coming up here? It's loading. Something ain't right with the internet today. That's
Yeah.
something I already noticed today. But I guess that's yeah, it is what it is. And don't let you guys confuse with all the text around there. There is just one number that I want to point out here. Let me just mark this one here real quick. I hope this works. I hope you guys can read it on the screen. Let me. Can you read it? I hope this works. And it basically says in here Marco Polo. So that's the program behind this act, and I'm going to go into more details right away. But that's something very significant I want to show you guys. Marco Polo aims at improving the environmental performance of European freight transport by freeing the roads of annual volume of 20 billion ton kilometers of freight, the equivalent of more than 700,000 trucks a year traveling between Paris and Berlin.
Phenomenal, isn't it?
Think about it. Let me reread that again, because this is just stunning to me. Marco Polo aims at improving the environmental performance of European freight transport by freeing the roads of an annual volume of 20 billion ton kilometers of freight, the equivalent of more than 700,000 trucks a year traveling between Paris and Berlin. Isn't that mind-blowing, this number? I mean, come on.
It is. It is.
And
Europe has less of a water network than the United States.
Yep.
Imagine what we could do here.
Yep, absolutely, Pat. You're absolutely right. And in fact, let me just pull up this official statement with regards to the Marco Polo Act here.
It's roughly 30 years or so ago that started, isn't it?
Something around like so, and I've read they recently did an update on it.
Yes.
And you can, yeah, there it is. There it is. Now you can see it on the screen. And as I said, I'm going to share all these links that we're going to talk today about. I will share them afterwards also on LinkedIn, so you guys can take your time, work through it, read all the details, because this is really great stuff here. Just giving off a small notion of the potential, which is currently there. You know, we are not making this stuff up. It is already there. It's just waiting to get taken advantage of, basically, right?
Yes. Yes. Actually, it's been law in the United States, I believe, since the Clinton era. Might have even gone back as far as Carter, under the Department of Energy. And it just keeps getting
really
in the road, and nobody's doing anything with it.
Man, that's
military
just
cargo for one.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, military cargo for one. If there is a water method to transport, they are required to use it. So if anybody's got military cargo,
really?
this is the way. And Uncle Sam's a big shipper.
Wow. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, obviously, you guys are moving, or the military is moving a lot of freight on that. So I agree, and I understand that this makes sense, definitely. But yeah, if we can somehow make the shift and switch it from just the military side, also more onto the public, or let's say commercial side, in terms of moving freight. I mean, this is the key. This is the key. And probably, Pat, would you say it's an understatement if I say this is the single biggest potential, or the single biggest lever for bulk logistics?
Yes, since Malcolm put the first containers on the Ideal X, I would say yes. That kicked off the container revolution, and we just need to take it to chapter 2.
Correct. And make sure that we bring it also in the year of 2022, right? And not just leaving it where Malcolm was rolling around somewhere in the 60s.
Exactly.
I'm just seeing here. I'm just seeing here real quick. Kara, again, Kara, thank you for your comment. Appreciate it, Kara. Kara would love to get some contact information. I think it would be best if she reaches out directly to you, Pat, on that. I suppose.
Happy to chat. Happy to chat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I can.
Excellent.
I can.
Kara, just so you
send you
know,
my phone
yeah.
number and email afterwards, Kara.
Perfect. I'm going to connect all of you towards the end of the show, so that everybody can get a hold of Pat. I'm looking forward to a lot of great conversations with you guys. And just if you take a look into the comment section, Pat, you can already see that people are loving it. I mean, if you take a look on Joe, wow, everything in capital letters.
Wow's an understatement, John. It really is. It's just, I just can't believe that logistics and corporate don't open their eyes to this. I've even had conversations with MIT people, and their answer to me was, give me 3 years worth of information to study. Well, my answer was, look at the Marco Polo. It's been going for years, and every time they reiterate it, it grows and adds something else that's positive. Is it going to be perfect? No, there is no logistics program out here that is perfect, but it's a great redundancy.
That's impossible.
It's a necessary growth step. I'd like to see it happen in my lifetime.
Oh, absolutely, Pat. And that's in fact why we're meeting here and why we are pushing this whole topic. And ever since I started not so long ago, but still ever since I started at Joe Logistics, that's basically the reason why I'm doing the show, because I want to make sure I provide content, I provide value, I provide more or less out of the box concepts to the people in the market to get them thinking, And I totally understand that. It's not for everybody. Not every cargo is meant to be shipped around the world. It's not working for every cargo. I get it, absolutely. But I believe there are more than enough companies that would love to take advantage of it, and that would actually benefit to, I don't know, astronomical dimensions, for sure.
Yeah. Well, think about a large manufacturer, somebody who moves 1 million tons a quarter, that has a continual supply chain of containers that come in from New York or come in from LA and go on the rail right to the mid-country. And they have X amount of containers every day because they have to keep their manufacture going. This would be ideal for something like that, because it's just a steady flow. And every week we put X amount of containers on and it just, the amount of weight that you can increase going this way decreases the amount of labor that your crew has to do and everything else. I mean, it really is the bean counters of the group. And when they really get into the numbers, that's where I finally got my attention where I used to work. When I showed them that I could take, just by changing 8,000 pounds of container, I took 3 cents a landed pound off of the stuff going to China. And wow. they were like, well, how? I said, it's not. I mean, I actually paid the trucks more to do it, an extra $50 a load. Woohoo! But every container we didn't move was over $5,000 less. So on an order of 2 million or 3 million pounds, that's a huge number. And I used to ship 15, 20 million pounds a month. So it really made a big significant difference. That's what really kicked it over for me, is to see just how simple it was.
I'm with you. I mean, absolutely, I'm with you. And you also see that over here in Europe. I mean, there are some pretty large manufacturers. For instance, BASF, which is a global chemical company or corporation. I mean, they even have their own feeder terminal right on the Rhine. Just for fun? No, of course not. Because they have their own vessel, and they can load it up, and boom, they got everything away from the road. They're not subject to whatever is going on the road or on the rail, as it is currently in the US. And I do think what is important to mention here as well is, don't think of those vessels as large as regular ocean freight vessels
No.
with 10,000 plus slots. But it's not even necessary. If you have, what's that, like 100-ish, maybe two, maybe even 300 to
3
you,
to
then
6.
you're good to go.
Yeah, it's a city
3 to
bus.
6. Okay.
It's a city bus.
Yeah.
You're gonna be
Yeah.
you're gonna be at this port this morning. You're gonna be at the next port that afternoon. You're gonna be at the next port the next day. And if the container doesn't make it, you'll get it on the way back south. It's
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit like a hop on, hop off train.
Yep. Exactly. And
If
don't wait around. A lot of people in the U.S. There was a company that used to do a barge out of Boston down in New York, and it wouldn't sail if there wasn't enough cargo, or it wouldn't sail if the seas were rough, or if they didn't think they were going to make enough money. And people have been jaded to stuff like that. We have to get away from that. It's not a barge. We need to do this with vessels like they do over in Europe. Self-powered barges. Just you put 200-300 containers on it. Off you go.
correct.
And then even on the east-west
Yeah,
lanes,
and that's all there is to it.
we get smaller vessels that get from the hubs of like Memphis, St. Louis, and Chicago or whatever, and we take them east-west. And it will grow into it, and it's a huge network that reaches over 80% of the U.S. population within 100 miles of a navigable waterway.
Wow.
Talk about regionalization.
Just think about it, Absolutely. And talking about also connectivity in this sense, not so much about internet, but connectivity of logistics. I mean, think about it. With such a, for lack of better terms here, let's say easy switch, which is not that easy, but, let's say easy switch, you can reach more than 80% of the total US population. Think about it. And it's not just that. Even if you think about the Great Lakes, you're able to get down to Erie, Pennsylvania, to Detroit. A lot of,
Right.
I think
the Great
Cleveland
Lakes
is up, right? It's up on
The Great Lakes are a great summer one. They close the canal in Buffalo, usually Thanksgiving or Christmas time till like early spring, because it freezes. But the rest of the year, there's several companies that come in through the canal right past Montreal and just keep right on going. They come through the St. Lawrence and they come right in, and they even service as far west as Thunder Bay by water certain times of the year.
Wow. And those are not just the imports, but think about it the other way around. If you're a small company, you're manufacturing for output. Yeah,
Thunder Bay is one of the largest grain elevators in the world. Believe it or not, Oklahoma's right there with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have several companies. I think it's 3 or 4 companies that work there that produce an enormous amount of grains. Imagine.
Wow, I mean,
going right into Oklahoma City with a barge and pulling out loaded containers.
And just talking about grains, I mean, prior to starting this conversation today, Pat, we were also talking about Ukraine and the whole grain shipments that are literally being locked up in there. So you see how vital grain always will be. So and after talking to huge grain farmers or those how you call them, like communities or whatnot. And they are exporting per week somewhat like a million pounds of grain. So how fantastic would it be if they have if they could get rid of all the trucking, all the rail, and all that stuff, and just load everything right on that barge? I mean, you can even use some dedicated barges just especially for them. They're going to fill them up, and off they go, right?
Yeah. Well, today it comes from the farm in a truck over to the elevator, gets dumped into the elevator, then it gets handled from the elevator into either, some of them containerized, others go right into a barge, and then it gets taken out of the barge into the bulker vessel. Imagine taking all of that away and loading it from the truck into the grain elevator, and the grain elevator right into the container. Then it goes to destination.
I mean, This makes
There's a lot less
everything
waste,
so
a
much
lot less
more
damage.
efficient.
Yeah. The less times you fingerprint it, the better its value.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I learned
you're
that.
absolutely
I
right,
learned that doing that stuff that I was doing internationally. The less times you fingerprint it, the better the value. And it's true.
Absolutely. But yeah,
The more you deal with it, the more you work with it, the more people involved with it, the more costly and cumbersome it becomes.
oh, absolutely. And yeah, even the more efficient it gets, the less are touching it, because
Mhm.
obviously it's less subject to everything,
It
whether it's
is.
congestion, strike, you name it.
Right.
It's just irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant, actually.
Yep. Weather, bugs,
So
damage, loss, it mitigates quite a bit. And not just on a food side. I mean, same thing on manufacturing product,
Mhm,
any product.
mhm. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely right on that, Pat. I mean, that's a no-brainer, I guess you would call it, right? I mean,
I like. I think I told you
thinking
my analogy that I like the best. You remember what that was?
analogy you like the best. You like the one with buckle up for sure.
No, starts with a K.
With a
Kiss.
K.
Kiss. Keep it
Oh
simple,
yeah,
stupid.
keep it simple. Yeah. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. I mean, and that's part of the reason why this whole podcast series is called "The Joy of Logistics,"
Mm-hmm.
simply because it's there to show everybody it's not, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It does
No,
not. It's not rocket
the less
science.
complicated,
It's
the better.
just mapping out solid concepts.
Mm-hmm. The network
You
makes the
know.
difference. Obviously, that was it.
Yeah.
I've heard them say the network makes the dream work. But the communication, the education, once it's working, this is going to grow in ways that I can't even imagine right now. I mean, just think about
Absolutely.
Apple computers. They started in a garage, and now look at it.
Hmm.
I don't think they could have ever
Hmm.
dreamed it would be what it is today. Microsoft, same way. Um,
I agree.
Not
I
that
agree.
big, but the idea is that
I think that
get it started and who knows?
I do think that there is that this quote, I believe this is Bill Gates. We underestimate, or we tend to underestimate what is being able to get done within a year. But we also, oh no, sorry, we overestimate what is possible to get done within a year, but we grossly underestimate what is possible to be achieved within 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think that holds truth, whether it's for Tesla, Apple, all those other companies you just named, or in our case, the AMH. I mean, once this is picking up, and one, there are more and more people interested, inclined, but also actually taking advantage of it, the more it will come to fruition, and from there it will be more or less a self fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
I gotta bring this one real quick. John appreciated the joy and sometimes pains of logistics. You're absolutely
I
right,
was
sir. However,
I was going to ask him that, ask Christoph that. Is it the joy of logistics or the joy of logistics? And it depends on the day.
the joy of logistics. I remember that. And John, I try to make it as easy as possible for myself, so I'll limit out the pain as an option, so there is just the joy left, you know.
That works for me.
But yeah, Pat, a question that would just come to my mind. I don't know if you spoke with Jose about it by the time I was away. Someone would maybe ask themselves, like just Kara did, how would someone take advantage of it, or how would someone be able to implement it, if if today is the first time they are hearing about it, what would you recommend for them?
I would say the conversation needs to begin with what shippers it would make, or what BCOs it would make best benefit for. Obviously, it's going to make benefit bigger for the bigger ones, but it'll also work on smaller ones, because this will get into niche markets. For starters, people that are well, like the article I read from 1822, the ones that are most hurt by the logistics cost. This will get to them and benefit them. We need to continue with conversations like this and put groups together that can bring this to corporate, because corporate isn't going to believe, and I've experienced it firsthand, they aren't going to believe some people coming in that want to build ships because they think they're just trying to do something for themselves. It's going to have to come from the people that live in logistics, the ones that can look at it and say, if I go this way, it's far better than if I go here where everybody else is going. And that's the kind of things we need to address. We just need to put it together.
Yeah. And now, Pat, let's just assume that maybe even someone from the audience, or maybe someone who's later watching this show, or maybe listening to. Oh yeah, by the way, guys and girls, we are also available now on Spotify. You find all episodes on Spotify. So you make sure you check them out and you share them with your coworkers, friends, family as well. Now, however, Pat, if there is someone listening to what we're talking about today and be like, hey man, that's interesting, I want to try that out, where do I start? What would you advise them to do?
Start asking questions. Don't go to the steamship lines, they'll tell you no. You can start looking at companies. There are 2 that I'm going to bring into this that want to build Jones Act vessels. There are barge companies. They're not very keen on containers as yet, but I think they will be. It's the learning. It's the reaching out to people. And there's a website called World Port Source that I think you'll link up here that will show you where all the work ports are in the United States. And you'll be amazed that there's almost 400 of them, actual work ports. There are many white papers written by the federal government and logistics colleges about the AMH, including, you can pull up the laws about the Department of Energy and shipping on the American Marine Highways. They're all completely on there by on the web, free, easy to find. There are almost every state along the waterways have written white papers about how much cargo could be saved and increased by going on the water. Missouri one sticks out in my head because I read it the most recent. But you'd be amazed at the amount of people that are actually studying it, but not trying to reach out and do it. So we just
so it actually would be best if. Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we at the end of the day, somehow we have to get full circle and bring each and everybody together. I'm just pulling up here real quick the homepage that you mentioned, worldportsource.com, where you can see not just Africa, but go ahead.
World. But if you go to the United States on there, it'll list all the states and it'll show you how many work ports. It'll show you deep water ports, work ports, and marinas. Obviously, we don't want to go to marinas, even though that's the fun place. We want the work ports of the deep water. You'll be surprised. Right. There is even a work port, I believe it's in South Carolina, that is only accessible by water. And it's a freezer for food or for fish.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I read that, and I learned so much.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I learned so much about that. So there is a ton that we can do. The conversation like this is how we get started. Like-minded people that want to change.
Absolutely, and it's fantastic meeting actually like-minded people here and being able to discuss topics like that. And just if you take a look into the comment section, Pat, you can already tell that there is a huge amount of interest in there, and I think that we just started venturing into the right direction, and we started the right conversation today. Correct, the right group. Yeah, thank you.
The right group.
You're absolutely you're absolutely
like I was
correct.
saying with Jose. I know we're starting to run out of time here. Like I was saying with Jose, I've got the next show will be an economist. He's going to talk about things that like induced demand,
Right.
Velocity of capital, Incoterms, and a few other things that might surprise you how we can utilize them to really help a customer. After that, I've got the software company who does global logistics software, and he's out of England, believe it or not. He's also he's also a really good writer. I've got two companies that want to build Jones vessels that have almost opposite ends of the spectrum ideas on what the vessels should be. One is traditional and one is thinking way forward, which are both awesome because they both have absolute solid platforms of work. Unfortunately, neither one wants to build until they get somebody that wants to ship on them, which I understand because it's not cheap. I'm working to get
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm working to get someone from the labor department, the union level, all the way up in DC level, to talk about how this would help all kinds of labor around the country, not just maritime labor, but trades and everything else. I'm working to get someone from one of the maritime colleges to speak to us directly about the AMH. I've got a line into someone about intermodal trucking. What else have I got? I forget. I got a lot of people interested to chat about it.
That's okay, Pat. We're going to introduce him one by one, episode. And that's just, and that shows the audience, everybody's listening, that there is a huge lineup here, and it's an amazing topic, and that's just fantastic having someone as passionate as you, Pat. I highly appreciate it once again, being willing and being so interested and passionate about talking it, and I highly appreciate it. And Pat, I would love to go on and on about that topic, but however, I think you've still got some miles left to go, and yeah, right, and maybe we're going to do a part 2 series on that, then also with better working internet from my side. But I want to say thank you, also on behalf of the audience. I want to thank you for your time today and for taking your time today, live from the Kenworth Mobile Studios out in Ohio today. Just a quick question, Pat. If someone's listening to that, or someone in the audience who's interested in obtaining more information and maybe having some additional question, how can they find you? How can they get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn under my own name. Easy enough to find. My company is Divergent Logistics. I'm a one truck owner. That's listed in there if that helps tag it. You've got my email that you'll post up on this, and I'm connected to myself, connected to my phone pretty much all the time. Happy to answer, and if they want to go conversation after that, I can transfer phone numbers at that point.
Fantastic. That sounds awesome, Pat. I appreciate it, and obviously you find myself also on LinkedIn, Christoph Scheite. You can also find all sorts of news all around logistics under the hashtag Planet Logistics, where I post frequently, and of course the bi-weekly Joy of Logistics podcasts. And I want to thank each and everybody for being on the show. I want to thank you, especially Pat, for being here today.
My pleasure.
I'm honored that you're taking the time, and thank you also for your patience with my internet instability today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
Absolutely.
Off to Michigan I go.
Absolutely. You too. Take care. Best regards from Germany. Take care.